Today I'm going to show you an exemplar version of the science journal from last week. If you're doing a paper journal, please set up your journal the way that I have set it up on my digital journal. And if you have a digital journal, please complete all the pages in your digital notebook. If you still need to turn your digital journal in, my friends that are doing paper journals, please at this point take a picture of every single page and submit it to this assignment. And my friends that are doing a digital journal, please watch the video on how to submit your digital journal and upload it to this assignment. If you have not been told you need to turn your journal in, then just please update your journal and make sure it's up to date with everything that you're supposed to have in there. All right, let's take a look. Now, if you're doing a digital journal, you're going to click on Keynote. And you can hit Presentation and you can see everything you have in your Keynote. And we're going to pick our science journal. The first page should have your name and that it's a science journal, and it should be decorated to make it yours. It doesn't have to look exactly like this. It's going to be decorated the way you like. The second page should have a table of contents. We're going to write the page numbers for all of our content. So you're not going to write a table of contents for every single page, but just for each different subject. So I have page 3, lab safety, and then page 4, scientific method. If you're doing a paper journal, you'll have to number your pages, and then you'll just put in the number here that corresponds to the number where your lab safety and scientific method start. For those of you doing a digital journal, just look at the number on the left-hand side of the photo here of the page, and it tells you what the page numbers are. So that's your table of contents. You have to complete this every time you start a new subject. So for example, on Wednesday, we're going to move into landforms, and so you'll have another line here on your table of contents. But for now, we've only done lab safety and scientific method. So for lab safety, you should have some notes, and then you're going to have 3 things that you learned about in our lab safety experiment. So the 3 is going to be the 3 things that you learned about lab safety. Then you're going to write 2 things that you liked about the lesson for that day. And then 1 thing you wonder about. So for example, one of my friends wondered, why are we learning about lab safety when we're doing virtual experiments, when you're working from home? Well, some students may still return to school this year and still need to learn lab safety, number 1. Number 2, it's always good to be reminded of that because you will be doing labs again. And number 3, we may be doing some labs at home for those of you that are virtual learning. So it's just good to know all the safety rules, even if we're doing virtual learning. But that's just 1 thing you could have written. So just write 1 thing you wonder about. So the next page starts our scientific method. So I have a heading at the top that says scientific method because we moved on from lab safety. And then I have some notes at the top for scientific method. Your notes will be different. And then I have for science experiment week 1, what happens if I throw a paper airplane harder? Hypothesis. If I throw a paper airplane harder, it will go farther. My setup. My independent variable, what changes, is going to be the force we throw the plane. It's a hard or soft throw. Dependent variable, the data, that's going to be the distance the plane flies. That's the measurement you're going to take. And then last, controlled variables, everything that stays the same. Measuring tool, paper folded into an airplane, and where I throw the plane. All right. And then you should have one last page at least. You may have more pages if you've taken more notes. This is going to be your data from the experiment that we did with the paper airplane. You're going to have you can have it just written down, or you could put it in a chart. So I have trial 1, we only did one trial, then independent variable, I had a hard throw and a soft throw, and then my dependent variable was how far it went. So my hard throw, it went 3 feet, and for my soft throw, it went 1 foot. And then my reflection is, was my hypothesis correct? Well, I predicted the hard throw would go farther, and it did. So yes, my hypothesis was correct. Was it a fair test? Yes, I only had one independent variable in my experiment. So it was fair because the only difference was that I threw it harder on the second. On the first time I threw it hard, and the second time I threw it soft. That was the only difference. And lastly, what could I do to prove that it's a valid experiment? The only way to prove if an experiment is valid is to have several people repeat your experiment and get the same result. All right, those are the pages you should have in your science journal. These will be graded every week, well, almost every week. So you have to keep up on your science journals, and once a week I will post everything you need to put in your journal in case you missed any days. And keep in mind, eventually, if you don't turn it in on time, you will have a grade reduction. So don't wait until the exemplar's up, all right? Just use the exemplar to catch up. Have a great day.